Right, I made a video a few weeks ago about tone wood. Actually, let me rephrase that. I made a video making fun of Paul Reed Smith for being such a butthole about tone wood. Now, if you didn't see that video, I'll sum it up really quickly. The wood on your guitar doesn't have as big an effect on your sound as, say, your pickups, or your strings, or the way you use your pick, or your amp, or your effects. And tone is in the fingers. That's been said, and I agree, and now I have got even more proof. I've actually made a few videos recently about spending too much money on guitar gear as well, so this is all going to tie in nicely today. So before I get into this, don't forget to like and subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, links for everything in the description. So, I found this article on Ultimate Guitar. If you can't play like them, then you're wasting all your money. Jeff Beck, an Eddie Van Halen engineer, explains why gear won't make you sound like your heroes. Wow. I mean, I've lost count, right, of the amount of videos I've watched right here on YouTube about guys, trying to find the exact same tone or sound as, such and such used on a particular album. They've tracked down the exact speaker and cab and spent $4,000 on an old Sound City head or something. I mean, it's fascinating. I love watching it. It's great content and it's very interesting. But I've never seen the point. I mean, I've never really wanted to sound like a famous guitarist so bad that it's driven me mad, driven me to distraction. I mean, yes, I like the way Scott Ian chugs, and I like Per Ericsson's lead tones. I mean, neither of those two sounds has been particularly hard to emulate. I mean, playing like them has been a lot harder. But I've never really been fascinated with Eddie Van Halen's sound or, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, I like those dudes and stuff, and I like their music, but I've never felt the need to copy them. I think I'm at a point now where I like my own sound enough, and I prefer writing my own stuff these days. But this. If you can't play like them, then you're wasting all your money. Jeff Beck, an Eddie Van Halen engineer, explains why gear won't make you sound like your heroes. Sound engineer Dave Natal confirmed that a player's tone primarily comes from their hands, noting how the people who buy the same gear as their idols use with hopes of achieving the same sound are wasting their money, unless they can play just as well. After decades of working with the likes of Jeff Beck, Motley Crue, the Rolling Stones, Prince, Fleetwood Mac and many more, Dave Natal is a sound engineer with heaps of experience and stories to spare. Given his position, Mr. Natal's had the opportunity to become real intimate with the sound of our heroes in a way that most can only dream of. And he tells Rick Beato that simply listening to legends such as Eddie Van Halen play was mind-bending. Now, this is transcribed by Ultimate Guitar. Mind-bending like Jeff Beck. These guys were the real deal. Eddie, Jeff, Alan Holdsworth is certainly in that group. Lukather, Steve is a monster. And I think he's very underrated. Those guys are that good. That's magic. That's what I consider being a musician. Oh, you call yourself a musician? Well, those guys did, and they deserved it. They were musicians. Now, they were all great guitarists. We don't even need to talk about that. I'm not going to deny, right, that there's actually guitar players out there now, walking around amongst us, who are as good, maybe even better than Eddie Van Halen or Jeff Beck. We might never even heard of them. We might never will hear of them. But surely, right, them just copying Eddie Van Halen or Jeff Beck is a waste of their talent. I mean, I've heard Eddie Van Halen a lot. I can hum Eruption in my sleep. But it's all been done before. There's a million videos on YouTube of people playing Eruption, or Stevie Ray Vaughan solos, or Guthrie Gun, or whatever. What we need is new guitar music. I want to hear stuff that I haven't heard before. Oh, you sound and play exactly like Joe Satriani. Cool, good work, fella. But if I want to hear Joe Satriani, can't I just listen to Joe do it on his record? Now, don't get me wrong, if you learn to play guitar like Joe Satriani or Eddie Van Halen or Jeff Beck or any of the greats, I take my hat off to you. I can fully appreciate the countless hours you've put in learning those songs and those solos. I can even appreciate the amount of money you've spent on gear. That dedication is to be admired. But what else you got? You want to play me something that I haven't heard a million times already? Look, I'm not being down on anyone that, copies other guitar players and learns their stuff. It's, I get why people do it. It's just not my thing. Probably one of the most talked about guitar players recently, new guys, is probably like, I don't know, Tim Henson. And like him or don't like him, you can't deny that the lad is a talent. He can play guitar. I mean, you might not enjoy Polyphia. Not really a fan. But Tim Henson can play. And he did something a little bit different, and that's what makes it interesting. So, going back to this article, singling out the late and great Jeff Beck, Natal said, "It's hard to describe. I know you know the feeling. When Jeff was playing and you were standing there, I knew what you were feeling because I felt the same thing. Being in a tuning room with these guys before the gig, leaning, whatever, while they're just this far away and you're watching them. I remember one guy was playing and I just started laughing and he looked at me and he goes, 'What are you laughing at?' I said, 'You're playing it, you wouldn't understand.' To me it was like, your hand shouldn't be there, it should be there. How did that happen?" According to Natal, Jeff Beck sounded like Jeff Beck even when he played a small practice amp on the bus. "It's all in the hands, absolutely," Natal notes. He added, "Guys crack me up. They'd be like, 'Hey man, I just bought this stuff that this guy uses. Can you play like this guy?' No. Well, you just wasted all your money. It's the guy's hands, it's the touch. I've seen it over and over and over and over. I mean, you can go and buy a 5150 and a Wolfgang guitar, but it's not going to sound like Eddie Van Halen." And I've seen this before somewhere. I can't remember who it was. It might have been John Bon Jovi or something. Said something like Jeff Beck came and just picked up a guitar that was lying around and plugged it into the nearest amp and started playing, and it sounded exactly like Jeff Beck. I might have the names wrong, but you get the idea. And I believe these stories. Why? Right, well, I am a mediocre guitar player, at best. But even now, it doesn't really matter what guitar I'm playing or what amp I'm playing it through. I always sound like me. I'm not saying this is a good thing, because I'd love to be better. Anyway, it's something to think about. Feel free to jump in the comments and let me know your thoughts on this. Anyway, that's all for today's whatever the heck this is. Thanks for watching. I'll leave some links to my socials and my live channel in the description. I stream every Wednesday and Saturday night, so feel free to pop in and say hi next time. Take it easy. Peace out.